everybody, and good afternoon, and welcome to the webinar. We have quite a few people joining, so welcome everybody. We'll get this started very quickly as a lot of people have already joined. I'm very happy to introduce our panel to you and especially extend a very warm welcome to Cherry Oakley. Some of you attending this webinar may already know Cherry, who is the Executive Director of Support Coordination for Neighbours Inc. Neighbours Inc. is one of the earliest Medicaid-approved support coordination agencies in New Jersey, and they have been providing coordination and case management services to intellectually and developmentally disabled adults for many, many years in New Jersey. In this role, Cherry leads a team of more than 50 support coordinators who are instrumental in ensuring that the most effective Medicaid services are delivered to those under their care. Cherry, in addition to having been in this role for many, many years, has also been a founding board member of several nonprofits that focus on the health, healing, and wellness of those marginalized by society or living in urban communities. She has been a champion of social justice, and she has worked closely with government systems, local communities, and service organization, and has been instrumental in so many values-driven transformations. So we welcome Cherry Oakley to the panel. I also have Sunny Nair from the FieldWorker Customer Success team, who works closely with all of our clients, and his team makes the organization successful in what they're doing. And Martha is an account executive on the panel as well from our accounts management team. And I also have Prabhat Vash and myself, Rohit Mathur, who are co-founders of FieldWorker. So we are happy to get this started. We want to keep this session very informal, and we would love to hear questions from you. We have Cherry Oakley here. She has tremendous experience in case management, in service delivery, in support coordination. We'd love to, interact as much as possible. She has given her valuable time to talk to all of us, and she's happy to field questions as well. You can put your questions in the Q&A box. And you can do it as we are going through the panel discussion. We can take those questions as they come along, or at the end of the session. And if we don't have time, we don't get to them, we are happy to set up some time with you separately and get back to you later as well. We also have two polls that will come up on your screen during the webinar. Both of these will help us get information and discuss areas which are of most interest to you. So it would be great if you could participate in these polls. Now, without further ado, what I'm going to do is that I am going to pass on to Sunny Nair, who will kick off the process and the discussion. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Rohit, and good evening, everybody, and welcome, Cherry. Great. So to start off today, Cherry, if you could tell us a bit about Neighbours Inc, the agency, the mission of your organization, and what exactly sets your agency apart in the field of support coordination. I think that's a good way to start.
Sure. So thanks for inviting me to have a conversation. I hope we're going to just be able to have a conversation and people can ask whatever questions might be on their head and in their heart. And if I know any information to share, I'll definitely share that from my experience, from my perspective. So our organization, Neighbours Inc, started about 30 years ago. The intent is supporting one person at a time in a very individualized way, just to figure out how to live a regular, everyday, non-special life for people to live, where that person would want to live, with whom that person wants to live, identify and figure out what's considered meaningful. It's a meaningful way to spend your time, and to figure out, what each person's gifts are, and finding out where that person can contribute their gifts. So we were asking people to answer that question of what would be a good life, and then work towards building a truly inclusive, connected life to a community. So that's what we were trying to do. Is what we get up every morning and try to do.
Great. That's great. Having a more personalized approach to to a lot of these communications, 100%. I see, based on key challenges. So what would you say, Sherry, are a few key challenges that you've encountered, opportunities that you encountered as a role as an executive director of Neighbours Inc., and how has this approach evolved over the years to address the needs of your clients? If you could give us a bit of understanding about that.
Well, a lot of my key challenges come from, we're a very values-driven organization. We ask all the time, like, is what we're being asked to do and the way we're asking to do it, is this going to really be able to uplift and uphold what we believe we are called to be doing? And so when you look at the pull of bureaucracy and how complex it makes things when you're just trying to help people to do some exploration, to figure out what their story is, and help people figure out, like, what do you want people to be saying about you when they're sitting around at the end of your life and they're drinking coffee and eating scones. What do you want people to say has been your legacy here, regardless of anybody's perceived level of ability. And then, helping people figure out what those steps are, becoming a medicated provider and trying to help people, just holding space, try to collect people's stories and actively listen and connect people to resources and help people figure out some really complex, just kind of day-to-day things. The layer of documentation and the minutia that gets laid on top of that, so that a bureaucracy can, look at a piece of paper or look on a screen and see what it is that they would like to see to be able to better understand someone's life. When being able to know that stuff, you have to sit with people to do that. Is where our kind of challenges come, and so it kind of steals time. It takes time away from the core work of what it is that you would like to do. So we're constantly trying to think about how do we make sure that we're not writing things in writing the same thing in multiple places.
Yes.
Time. How do we make sure that we are working as efficiently, effectively as we possibly can, so that we've got as much time as we possibly can to spend directly connecting with the people that have invited us into their lives to help walk alongside them to get what it is that person would like to get in the communities in which somebody chooses to live. So that's where most of our challenges are coming from.
Yes, I can understand. Yes. Great. So coming to the day-to-day with compliance, with the state and federal regulations, I know they can be very complex, staying compliant. How has technology assisted Neighbours Inc. in staying compliant? What specific tools or features have been most beneficial to attain this? If you could give us a bit of explanation about that. Yes. Well,
I can say predominantly we've got access to data that we can easily put our hands on. In whether we're doing queries or we're using reports that help us to see trends, or help us to see the level of detail that becoming a medicated provider people want us to report on. But it also helps us to not forget stuff. There's always this kind of what we think about the golden thread, where an issue might be raised, or a particular point, or an interest, or something is learned about someone, and we want to take that and utilize that to expand someone's life, or expand someone's connection to their community, or assure someone's health, or assure someone's welfare, because there's a risk that's not well supported, and we need to make sure we're getting out after that. And being able, when you've got a number of people that you're partnering with in order to do this work, it can be a lot to try to remember. Utilize technology and being able to utilize a platform that's going to give us the information and help us to not only make sure that we're not losing track of things, but we're able to kind of go back, or we're able to even have an extra set of eyes to kind of look in on something and say, oh, you know what, I noticed this I have this particular, thing, or did you ever consider this particular idea? If I'm reading through a summary of something, that when there's a team of people that are working closely with someone and they're in the mix of it, you don't necessarily always have a chance to kind of step away and look at what it is that you're trying to sort through. And so technology has been able to enable some of our creative folks and some of our support systems within our organization to be able to help assist the folks who are kind of on the front lines to be able to do the work and do it well, and make sure that we're really doing right by the people who invited us into their lives to help support them.
Yes, 100%. Great. And now talking about your support coordinators, the ones who are actually dealing with the clients in a day-to-day, can you discuss how user-friendly technology has impacted employment satisfaction, recruitment, and retention at Neighbours? Just being able to use technology.
Oh gosh, yeah. So, yeah, user friendly is the key word.
Yes.
We have over the years, especially since we've changed from the first version of fee for service that we were involved in, which was another kind of computer platform and computer system altogether. And so the current version of fee for service was adding all of this, complexity. And then when we were looking at trying to quality assure any of the documentation and the stuff that we were putting into the current system that the state uses and requires us to record information in, as is very normal because we're all human beings, there's lots of errors and things that kind of end up. Yes. And the unfortunate thing when you're a Medicaid approved provider, when you put stuff into an electronic health record and it's got errors in there, you can't go in there and change it or replace it and say, no, we meant X, Y, and Z. So that quality assurance process, we have a team of people who are good at detail-oriented stuff, but they were the people who were responsible to kind of look over everything and try to make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed and things look like what they need to look like, so we have the best chance of being able to do well in an audit process and hold on to and not put ourselves in a situation where we have to pay back a lot of money because there were so many errors and mistakes and things that would make us appear non-compliant and not able to draw down the revenue we need in order to pay paychecks and stuff. And so before we've had user-friendly technology to do all those reviews, those were some really rough conversations. We would meet at least monthly to try to go over what it is that we were seeing, and we had this kind of imposed secondary set of deadlines that we had to give ourselves enough time to be able to thoroughly review everything. In those review processes, we had gone through a few iterations of trying to look at the material, and ultimately it came down to we've got to review 100% of what it is that we're posting anywhere, and that's just a whole pressure unto itself.
Yes.
And it was, I have to admit, rough, really rough. That those were not, meetings and conversations that people looked forward to having, because they were, you'd be exhausted and wrung out by the time you finish looking at everything, and then you're faced with a whole nother month of starting all over and doing it again. And there wasn't a really, good, reliable way to review the information, because there'd be so many times that people could make simple mistakes, and trying to comb through the information and look at the simple mistakes and have those fixed before you post it in a place that was really permanent. It's just rough. So utilizing technology, a platform that helps eliminate a bunch of those errors, those kind of really common errors, so you could focus on the kind of meat of what you're trying to get at, and the really meaningful stuff has just been a complete game changer in terms of the energy and focus. Staff not wanting to quit because they're just about to pull their hair out and they're just tired of that. And it has helped our partnerships amongst ourselves within the team have just improved. Being able to have technology help eliminate a bunch of really common, easy errors, and so we can focus on the stuff that actually is means something.
Yes, yes, yes. Great, 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 great. Now, all of this comes at a cost, right? So, if talking about cost efficiency, it's always been a key concern for agencies, while growing as well. So, just from your perspective, your technology implementation, how costly was it? And, has implementing technology contributed to reducing operational costs at Neighbours Inc?
Yeah, I could say when we sat down to kind of look at, what is the dollar amount that we're paying out for the technology, and then looking at the amount of time and for money for all of the personnel that you're needed to like maintain and make sure that the way in which you're utilizing your process to bill or to do your quality assurance, the utilizing the current technology, we're utilizing FieldWorker. It has given us back. I haven't sat down to kind of look at the actual numbers, but it has just in opportunity costs alone, we have just recouped so much time and team morale and people's attitude towards the work. And we're getting paid faster. It's gotten the folks that are involved in the billing process, it has literally reduced their work by a third. So we've been able to have them do some other tasks that before 100% of their focus was just simply on checking to make sure that what needed to be present in order to bill was present. It looked like what it needed to look like in order to be able to bill and then get the billing off and done. We're getting one lump sum payment and earlier in the month where you have to cut it up into thirds and be paid, all month long. Our fiscal office is way happier. It's all the way around. It has just been immensely not only a time saver, but just even the resources, the salary that goes into paying the people that are resourcing and supporting the billing process has been just tremendous. So it's good. I'd do it again.
Yes, that's really good to hear. Good to hear. Great. So looking forward, what role do you see technology playing in the future growth and success of your agency, going forward? How do you think technology can come in and, change your processes and benefit you overall?
We're always pretty mindful about what it is that we're utilizing. We tend to, research stuff, test out a bunch of things. Like, I think about when we came to our last billing software package before. We looked at 60 products. We tested 16 of them. We even interviewed and piloted with 4 billing services before we settled on a particular package. But we were always out there looking for something that actually might make things simpler, help us to get paid faster, and help us to, at the same time, be able to assure that we were going to be able to hold on to that payment when it came through, if we were to go through an audit process. So we're going to always have that. I mean, the practical reality is that now, the way that things function now, you can't do it without technology. You just can't. And for the size of the organization is and the complexity of the work that we're doing, it doesn't make sense to not work through technology. Making sure that what we're using is definitely user friendly. I mean, we're an organization that we try to make sure that we've got a really, really diverse team of people, as diverse as the New Jerseyans are that we support. And so that means that we've got folks who, what we like to call veteran humans who don't have technology as a center part of their world. So we've got to make sure that whatever is user friendly is simple enough that won't be discouraging for people who don't lean in the direction of technology, but it still is able to handle the complexity of what we're trying to manage. And so just because it helps reduce mistakes, it helps us to work faster, and it helps us to get back time that we need to be able to spend time with people and connect and do research to connect people to community. We're always going to be looking at having technology be around to help us to do that.
Yes, great. More adaptive technology, I suppose, more adaptive technology going forward. Great. A final question about innovation. It's key to staying ahead in this industry. Any example that you could share of how technology has helped neighbors innovate or introduce new processes that have significantly benefited your operation or your clients? If you could give us an example of something that has benefited neighbors.
Well, I would say FieldWorker is one of those examples. So we, back when we switched over to this latest version of fee for service, we had probably I'd say 3 years in, had conceived of a tool, an app, or an online tool that was going to help us to complete our monitoring tools and link up with the information that somebody's outcomes that we're supposed to be helping people stay in hot pursuit of. And so we founded a technology development company that was supposed to be helping us to develop an app, and that was going to be, we could sit and actually complete the questions and collect people stories and improve their person-centered plan while we're sitting there and partnering with somebody when we would do some monthly check-ins with them. We worked with that company for 3 years. Really went combed through the tools and did that stuff. We spent a chunk of money trying to develop something because we knew we were going to need something that was going to do a bit of this stuff for us, that would be, rather than kind of redundantly typing it every month, and so that we could have the time that we wanted to have to just sit and be with people and have the deeper conversations that would help enhance somebody's life, and help people to really have full control and all the choice and options that they're looking to have. So when FieldWorker came across our paths, there was so much of it that looked like what we had been trying to develop with this other company, with the exception of a few things that FieldWorker didn't have. So when we finally sat down to have some conversations with you guys, and we're comparing it to what we were having developed, and like initially we didn't get on board because it was missing a few of the things, and you guys were saying, "Well, hey, tell us what's missing," and we shared with you, what we were going to be able to get with the other company, and then a few months later, you guys came back and said, "Hey, we've incorporated that stuff. You guys want to take another look?" And man, there was stuff that we hadn't even thought of that really made us, the whole circle of scheduling out the check-in with somebody and recording what it is that they've shared, and being able to record it quickly, and then being able to have that information checked to make sure that it's going to be all compliant with all the requirements that it would need to be compliant with, and then we could turn that around and sure that match that up with a bill that we could send to draw down the revenue that we needed to be able to keep the organization and stuff going. It was just really good. We were the team of us that had been working with the other company on the app, right? I remember us being like, "Can you believe this? Oh my gosh, this is exactly what we have been wanting to put together." So, and you guys let us pilot it and test it out to make sure that it was something that actually worked, and it didn't shift too much of what it is that we actually did, the way that we're used to putting things together. Our organization is set up. I do support coordination specifically, and the way in which we do support coordination is set up very, very differently than the 144 other organizations that are working in the state. And so you guys listen to us, and were able to help us figure out how our structure could sit within that platform and be supported by your platform, as opposed to us having to reconfigure the way in which we organize ourselves, and to be able to make it actually something useful. And it was really, really good. So we will always be looking at that kind of stuff. We have some other platforms that are involved, that we're involved with, that offer us that kind of accommodation. So if there's something that's going to ever make our work easier, so that we have more time to sit and partner with people and build rapport and help people explore their community and really get resourced and connected well, we're always going to invite that into our lives, because it's going to allow us to continue to live out our mission and really be values driven, and not have to spend a lot of time being distracted by the demands that a bureaucracy will place on you. So I'd say FieldWorker is a perfect example of the answer to your question.
Great, thank you so much for such insightful words, Cherry. Thank you. That really helps us as well as people on the call to get an idea of how we could go out and help them. I now have a few questions for Prabhat just regarding the system. So Prabhat, if you could just tell us how FieldWorker approaches data security and privacy, particularly given the sensitive nature of client information that we are handling. A bit about how data is securely stored on our system.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I was just asking that to Prabhat, Cherry.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I see our Cherry here and then vouch for the work that you're doing, and it's great to have a user like you who's not only kind of a great user, but also giving us the insight of your industry in terms of that what's the expectation, what can make your life better. And one of the things that we very early learned about was the security and privacy. It's about people's real life, it's about people's health, and the security is important. So from the perspective of where we sit, one of the key things that we have in our system is that it's HIPAA compliant. We store the data which has military grade security. It's all sitting with Microsoft Cloud. We have processes which obviously a HIPAA compliant company would require in terms of who has access to the data and who can see the personal information. So very critically, that is what we are attempting to do here is maintain the security and privacy completely. Even in an organization, if you have different people who have different set of roles in terms of who can create a monitoring tool, for example, if you're a New Jersey Support Coordination Company, who needs to approve it, there are workflows and then there are really the access control policies that you can define. A lot of it is built into the system. A lot of it is our support team, which can actually help you do it.
Okay, great. Yes, thank you, Prabhat. One more question. You mentioned the support team. So, if you would give us an idea of what kind of support FieldWorker offers to its clients during the onboarding process and beyond.
Cherry, do you have something to say about our onboarding?
Oh, it was awesome. I say we've got all kinds of learners in our on our team. So we needed to onboard about 50 people, and we were able to kind of break this up into small groups, and there were Sunny and some other partners. Anne was there, and Zach was there, and we're able to help people to get logged in, because that part's a little bit of a challenge because of the two-factor authentication. I know all of us are super excited about that, because no matter what it is that you're using today, everybody's got two-factor authentication, and everybody's is like slightly different. And so trying to go through and be able to make sure that people would have a secure way to be able to log in, and then to be able to understand what each screen does, and how you be able to get through that. The commitment that Sunny and Ann made to us was that until we were fully comfortable with what we needed to do to log in, utilize the platform, troubleshoot, and things like that, that they were there, like truly just like you send a text message, you send an email, no matter what time of the day or night, honestly. They were responsive, they were on it, they hung with us until we got it. I know some questions I asked the same question about 10 times, and Sunny, every time he'd answer, it'd be like I was answering it for the first time. So I appreciated that that patience. So it was a really good, well handheld, and the good thing is, because the FieldWorker is user friendly, people got comfortable with it pretty quickly once they really understood the platform. We can be somewhat of a suspicious team, and so it was nice. It was nice to be surprised that what you said was happening actually does happen.
Okay, thanks for that. And let me just add here, and Sunny, your question in terms of that. When you onboard a company, and as I already mentioned that we are working with company which have 50 plus users, 15 users, or 5 users, right? And it's like a very wide variety of user base. Some people who are technology friendly, some people who are totally technology averse, and change is always difficult, right? There's also another angle where we need to bring in the data. And I think I'll also put a word for the team that Sunny and Anne are kind of keeping together. We help, as part of the onboarding, bring your existing data in. It might take a little bit of a time. We need to prepare. We need your help and every customer's help in there. But we kind of help bring the data in. So along with those two factors, and I think we have a team which is very liked by almost all our users. One of the key things that our support team is very active, very proactive in terms of thinking of what would it require to onboard. And given the target user base, it becomes a very important and a differentiating factor.
Yes. Great. Thank you so much for your question. I will now turn over the conversation to Rohit. I think we have a few questions from the chat. So
yeah, so we have a few questions from the audience. One of the questions related to audit, Cherry. It says, how do you think FieldWorker has made the SCA auditing process easier for you?
So, let me see if I am understanding. So the division New Jersey's Division of Developmental Disabilities just had been piloting and changed their auditing process for support coordination. So there is kind of a new auditing process that's happening. And Medicaid also sends out, they partner with Mercadian, and Mercadian is the one, they've been auditing us since 2009. Like every year, and they, taking a look at our documentation, lining those things up, from what's happening in the ISP through what's recorded in the monitoring tools. And they've also have now somebody in a team of people, it's actually several teams of people in the support coordination unit that are able to go through our documentation with some regularity to see, what's completed, what's not, is the content that you're looking at in your monitoring tools, it seems like it's get cloned, meaning it's just, the date's been changed on last month's tool, and you pop that up, in order to just be able to have something that's there. One of the nice things about FieldWorker is I have like exponentially more confidence in the content of our monitoring tools than I had before, when we were kind of looking at Word documents and trying to, comb through those and make sure that those look like what they need to look like. Because there's some stuff that can be pre-filled that's based on, data that is pulled right out of the iRecord and uploaded to FieldWorker, so it's, accurate Medicaid status and things like that. There has been a couple times we've gotten, we've checked the box, oh yeah, somebody has Medicaid eligibility, and they don't, because people are kind of blowing through monitoring tools and just trying to get stuff done. So I'd say the biggest thing is I feel a lot more confident when we're going into an audit that the information, especially the demographic information, is what it needs to be able to be. And then also when you're looking at that, you're really just kind of looking for note cloning, because you've got to initiate a new tool in order to complete it in FieldWorker each month. Team members have to really try, if they're going to try to clone a note, where it's just easier for people to just type in the summaries and type in, answer the questions that pop up, that they're prompted to in the platform. So that part, that's just a worry that I don't even have, so, and with, being able to use the feature where you've got somebody who's quality assuring, right, a manager who's quality assuring the content of a note and then approving it, as, hey, yeah, this note is good to go ahead and post in the iRecord. When you get ready to go bill, the confidence that you've got a monitoring tool that has been actually produced for that contact is there. It's assuring that you're only billing for monitoring tools that have been produced. Now you do have to take that tool and upload it to iRecord, so you can run a report that takes a look at what monitoring tools have actually been loaded. And we do also have somebody that goes on and opens up every single tool on the iRecord to make sure that the right person's tool has been put into that person's profile before we click the buttons to bill for that person. But so all of those things, it's just easier to do now, and you definitely feel more confident that the documentation that we're getting reviewed on is there, and it looks like what it needs to look like. So I can say, just even the feedback that we're getting from the support coordination unit that's looking at our documentation that's up on our record, it's not nearly what it was a year ago. It's way less. It's a rare thing that they find something, and usually it's they're saying, hey, it might have been a couple months since you've seen this. There's no tool posted. Tell me what's going on. Rather than I see these these 9 tools are the wrong person's, and this information looks like it was repeated. The last 3 months. What's going on? That kind of stuff. Hopefully that's an answer to your question.
Great, thank you very much. There was another question from the audience, which I think you kind of answered in this, but it says, which QA services do you use in FieldWorker for review? So if you would like to take that question.
Yeah, so it's the manager role, where the manager reviews the monitoring tool and approves it, or can reject it if something needs to stay and reject it. So sometimes you complete a tool, but you can't bill for it because it's the wrong kind of contact, but you've had the contact, so you want to write that down. So we use that. There are some reports that we're able to pull out that can show us who has had monitoring tools produced over time and who might be missing something. There also is one of the nice things that FieldWorker added is we never had a good way to be able to track the annual visit, right? The one where it's mandated once a year, no more than 12 months apart, had that happened. And now that FieldWorker has a feature that lets the support coordinator answer the question, is this an annual visit? And is this a visit at the place where the person gets 16 hours of support or more in a week? You got to have one of those per year as well, because we're able to identify which one of the monitorings meets those criteria. We can then ask Sunny to grab a report for us, as we can see where people are with that. So that was, in our audit process with Mercadian, we would get hung up on that with, for a few people, where we wouldn't have completed that annual tool, and so now we're able to see that, and where before we didn't have a good way to track it. So which is completely on the support coordinator. So I guess is the other thing that we use.
Yes, thank you. That was very good. There is one other question which says, how easy was it to implement the technology platform FieldWorker at Neighbours Inc?
Well, because we've implemented a number of technology platforms over time, I could say this is definitely in the top 2 most easiest implemented. Because we had really good support around the onboarding process, around the troubleshooting process, around being able to, when we've got a question or something's not working, being able to get right to somebody and say, hey, this is not working. The nice thing that FieldWorker takes seriously that this is a core piece of technology that we're interacting with literally daily, and so we don't, they recognize that they don't want to hold us up, and so the responsiveness has been. When I looked at the customer service that we've used in all the different technology that we have implemented here, FieldWorker has got to be like the most responsive around that. So that has made it super easy. So if you got somebody who's feeling nervous about something, or they can't, like something's not working, that we're able to get to somebody is really helpful. The other piece is that when there's been something that we've wanted, like, we've got this process and we need FieldWorker to work in this particular way for us, so we can grab this information because we rely heavily on it in our process to get something done. Their technology, their IT coding teams meeting once a week, and they're looking at what we're asking and then figuring out, in pretty short order, if there's something they're going to be able to incorporate and be able to enhance what we're asking for. Sometimes it's been no, but most of the time it's like, yeah, we can do that, or we've identified when we're going to put this into our rollout or update to be able to make something work. So I'd say, it's as easy as it could be. Having tested out a lot of technology for various things that we need to use, we're pretty good at figuring out when something's just too darn complex for us to be able to implement with our really diverse team. And FieldWorker's been nice that it's been actually pretty easy to use and get up and running for what we need it for.
Thank you. One more, and then we are heading to the top of the time frame. So if there are any other questions, audience, please put them up and we will get back to you after that. We have a stop at 4:45 Eastern time and we are at 4:42 now. So I'm going to ask one last question of Cherry. What are some of the outcomes or improvements that you have seen since adopting FieldWorker? Could you share?
I say the number one thing that bringing into one place the completion of the tool, the reviewing and quality assuring of a tool, so we've got a good tool, and matching that up with the billing has been huge. And one major piece was trying to get our billing completed earlier in the month. So we've gone from the last half of the month of being able to collect revenue to now it being able to collect it in the first kind of usually by the second Friday of the month. So it's all dependent upon how quickly we work. So that's a big piece change. The changing of the energy amongst the team in the completion of monitoring tools, the review of those things and getting them up where they need to be, it's just so less painful. It's just, there are a few people in the team who I don't like FieldWorker, I like my old way, there always will be that, but I'd say a good solid 85% of the team has been we like life with FieldWorker in it, as opposed to prior to, because it was very stressful working with Word documents and the manual review of things and that kind of stuff. So those are two big outcomes for me. Happier teammates and a happy fiscal office because we get revenue for source for cash flow coming in sooner.
Fantastic. Thanks, Cherry. And do you think this has helped you service your clients better as well?
Yeah, it's given us back a bunch of time that we spent on paper, and that's not our jam. We're not, we didn't get into this work so that we could fill out documents and paperwork. We know that it is a necessary thing, and we're always looking at trying to, make sure that whatever it is that we're completing is, because we absolutely need to do it and not because it's, just one more, paperwork can beget paperwork, right? You can collect data and stuff on absolutely anything you want to. You can fill up your entire day doing nothing but paperwork if you want to. But that's not the kind of folks that we are and why we're doing this work. So adding technology has been able to help us to have our time back so we can, really use it in the ways in which we want to, that make us stay with this work, right? Being with people, talking with people, celebrating with people, helping people figure out challenges and stuff. That's the reason why we got into what it is that we're doing.
Thank Thank you so much, Cherry. That was amazing, and thank you so much for your insights and all sharing for all your knowledge with us and with the attendees. We've had a huge attendance here for the webinar as well. Unfortunately, we are at 4:45 p.m. Eastern, and we have to stop. But we would love to talk to you at some other time, and I'm sure our audience would love to hear you as well. And for the audience, if there is anything, any questions that were left unanswered, you can reach out to us. I'll actually drop our email addresses in the chat for the team here, and you can connect with us, and we are happy to answer. info@fieldworker.ai is an address that will get to us, and at fieldworker.ai we'll get to Ann, Martha, Sunny at fieldworker.ai. First name at fieldworker.ai is our email addresses. And thank you again for attending. And Cherry, thank you once again.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thanks.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.